But when you get punched over and over again, okay, after a while, you know that's a part of being a fighter, right? That's a part of the game. Well, guess what? Going ups and downs in life are a part of life. Nobody is smooth coming up. Nobody is like this. This is what life is going to go. And as long as you understand that, when a trial comes your way, when things get hard, you got to smile now. You got to smile. You got to look at it dead in the face and say, you know what? There is something better at the other end. I wonder what the lesson is for me today to learn from this.
Welcome to Crossroads. I'm your host, Joshua Philipp. Today we have with us Sam Bakhtiar. Real glad having you on the show.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So Sam is a doctor. He's an Iranian refugee. He's a self-made millionaire and did so after a lot of hardships. And he's also the CEO of the Camp Personal Transformation Centers. And so Sam, real pleasure having you on.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Sam's here to talk to us about living the American dream and what it means to make the best out of your hardships, to use them to transform yourself. And so Sam, I know you have quite the story.
Oh man, yeah. So I was born in Tehran, Iran. I was born in 1973. That makes me 46. So I'm going to talk about that. And I remember growing up, when I was 3 years old, we went to war with Iraq. Saddam Hussein started bombing us. And at that time, my dad and my mom got divorced. My dad fled the country. He went to Canada. And it was just me, my mom. We lived with my grandparents, in a rented house. And every night we will hear sirens. They will black out the cities. And we were under airstrike. So they were bombing on us, pretty much every single night. It was something crazy because as a kid, it looked like it was fireworks. I remember looking at the sky and you see planes flying by, dropping bombs, and you see anti-air missiles going up. So that's how I lived between ages of 3 and 11. So every night there was something going on. But growing up, that's what I thought. I didn't see anybody immediately get bombed where I was, but you could see it on the television, on the news that, these people died and these kids died and all these people were getting blown up. So every night, we were under attack. Imagine this for a second, Josh. Every night we hear sirens, and as soon as the sirens went off, they had a rolling blackout, because when you're under attack, they want to make sure they dark the city, so the planes don't see where everything is at. So we see planes flying over, dropping bombs, we see anti-air missiles going up, and as a kid, like I said, I thought that was just a way of life. Everybody asked me, do you have any PTSD from war and things like that? I'm like, I really don't, because I didn't see anybody killed immediately in front of me, but I saw on the news, buildings got, blown up and people got blown up and things like that. And that's what I experienced pretty much every night.
So that was your childhood?
That was my childhood. My childhood was going to school, playing football, real football, you know what I mean? And then, coming home and getting bombed on. That was pretty much all I remember. I was the only child. My mom said, you know what, I don't want my only son to go to war and die, because at age 12, they were recruiting you to go to military. They were brainwashing kids to go to military. Sometimes just go and blow up a mine, blow yourself up. And if you did that, you would go to heaven. That was like the fundamental Islamic view.
And that's what they were teaching kids when you were around.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then, so we said we want to get out of the country. And we packed up with one luggage, $500, me and my mom. We went to France as refugees of war.
And was that during the Iraq-Iran war or during the Iranian Revolution?
No, this was during Iraq-Iran war. We packed up, we left, we went to France, and we stayed in France for a year as refugees of war, and then we flew to the United States as refugees of war. Now, when I was in France, my mom said, we're going to the United States. And everybody's like, oh my God, United States, the greatest country in the world. So I started doing some research. And my research about United States was looking at what United States have on TV. So you're probably young, but back then they had some shows called Dallas, The Dynasty, and The A-Team.
I know the A-Team.
You know the A-Team because recently they remade the movie, right?
Yeah.
So I remember watching the American shows. And I said, we're going to America. And they portrayed everybody in those shows to be multi-millionaires. Everybody had Cadillacs and swimming pools and Bentleys and mansions. So I thought I was coming to America, and I thought I want to see that. Everybody has that. And we only had one relative in America. That was my uncle, my mom's brother, who went to Youngstown State University. So I thought I was coming to Beverly Hills or Manhattan. Well, we went to Pittsburgh Airport, and we drove 45 minutes from there, and we landed in a little town called Sharon, Pennsylvania. Now, Sharon, Pennsylvania is a very small, homogeneous town, very small town, that all the steel mills at 1985 were shutting down.
And
so
now, it's kind of just entering poverty, basically. Right?
Depressed area, very depressed. Everybody was out of work. There was abandoned buildings. And my uncle did what most Middle Easterns do when they first come to America, when they want to become an entrepreneur. They open up a convenience store in the worst neighborhood.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? My uncle had literally, a store in a street called the Idaho Street, which was the worst neighborhood in town. It was brick roads, abandoned buildings. And Josh, I'm not kidding. When I got there, we saw, drug dealers, pimps, and prostitutes right outside walking around on the street. There was a sign on the street that says no loitering, which means that if you just hang out on the street, the police can just take you to jail. I started working for my uncle, and then I went to enroll to go to school. So I went to, enroll in school in 7th grade. I didn't speak the language. As soon as I walked into school, it was like Michael Jackson's Beat It video. I walked in, there was black people on this side, and there was white people on this side, and they were looking at me like, who are you? What are you?
Which side are you on?
What are you? Because you're not black, you're not white, what are you? And I mean, I stood out like a sore thumb. My clothes were different, my haircut was different, I had a little unibrow going, and I went to the guidance counselor. I said, okay, I want to enroll in 7th grade and learn English, and I want to play football. They're like, oh yeah, football. They went like this. And I'm going like, wait a second. This country is weird, because my English is not that good. This is the foot, this is the ball. I'm like, they're like, no. In this country, we call that soccer, and we don't have a soccer team. And I was crushed, because ever since I could remember walking, I was playing soccer. And so I'm in a new country, don't speak the language, nobody likes me, I don't belong in any group. Now my favorite sport is not there. I'm devastated. So they're like, okay, maybe I play football, but I didn't know anything about football. I didn't know what the object of the game was. To this day, I don't know what baseball is all about. So I said, well, I think I saw basketball before. At least I got to put the ball in the hoop. And so I tried out for the basketball team. And I tried out, I'll never forget, Josh. It was a cold winter morning. The coach said, come and have a scrimmage, and I'll tell you who made the team or not. So after a scrimmage, we went all sat down on the bleachers, and the coach said, if I call your name, that means you made the team. And he called everyone's name, literally everyone's name except me. I was the only one that didn't make the team. I went home 2 miles in the snow. I walked, I cried the whole time. I went home, shut the door, and told my mom, I want to go back to Iran. I said, I don't like America. Everybody makes fun of me. I'm not good in their sports. I don't have any friends. And my mom said, well, that's not a choice. Here's what we can do. He goes, after school, walk to the boys club, and practice basketball, get better, and try it next year. So my mom never let me quit. Never quitting is one of the keys to having a successful life. Life is going to not always go your way. But if you just keep going, keep getting back up, you will succeed. So my plan was to go to the boys club, get better at basketball. And I started doing that. But one day when I was going to the basketball court, I see these guys walking down from a room upstairs. And I'd never seen that room before. And these guys were all built like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And at that time, the Rocky movies were hot.
That was the thing.
Yes,
that was the thing. Yeah.
The Rocky movie was hot. All the Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies were out. And I'm like, I want to look like them. I want to get strong like them. So I wonder what's upstairs. So I went upstairs, and I saw these big guys, huge guys, lifting some insane weights, and just slapping each other, and listening to some loud music, and spitting tobacco. And I was like a scrawny, awkward kid. I had the worst genetics in the world, man. I had like a big old belly, small arms.
Hey, You go to his Instagram page. This guy's ripped. By the way, you can't see it here, but this guy's ripped, man. All right, go ahead.
That was like after 30 years of working out, something happened, right?
Yeah.
So so that I can go upstairs and work out, because I didn't want to work out in front of them because I was intimidated. So after they left, I started working out a little bit. I can't tell you how many times, Josh, I dropped the weight on my chest because I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh, no one was spotting you?
Nobody spotted me because I was still afraid somebody, I don't want anyone to see how I was working out. So after a few months, I started developing what I call baby muscles. You know what baby muscles are?
No.
Muscles that you can only tell on yourself. Nobody can tell you have muscles, but you think you have muscles.
That's like when you do like 10 sit-ups and check
Yes,
your abs.
yeah. That's exactly what I was doing. That's exactly what I was doing, Josh. I was working out. I was doing a set, and I was just like, oh, did something happen? I was flexing. But what happened was tremendous, because I started getting a little bit stronger. I started getting a little more tone. But what it did for me physically is nothing compared to what it did for me mentally and emotionally. Because I was literally depressed. I had no friends. Nobody accepted me. And now I started feeling better about myself. Now I started being obsessed about body transformation. So every time I got any allowance, I either went to Barnes & Noble's and bought a magazine or a book about nutrition and working out, or I went to GNC and bought the latest, powder or potion or whatever they were selling at the time. I would just drop all my money. I would read a workout program. I would go do it. I would take a protein powder. I would flex in the mirror. You know what I mean? And exactly what I was doing, and I started becoming infatuated. And I knew at that time that I wanted to become a bodybuilder. And one day I want to help other people experience what I've experienced.
And I'm sure that was a big thing for you too, because you're in a new environment, you're not accepted in it. Everything you knew is no longer there. Everything you enjoyed is no longer there for you. You're facing failure, you're facing rejection, and suddenly you find something that's helping you feel better about yourself.
Yes. And that was exactly it. I was searching for something to belong to. A certain group, and
and the funny thing is I think a lot of people in this country feel that, and they'll often do bad things to feel accepted. It's one of the biggest downfalls of a lot of young kids. But at the same time, we have a lot of mixed race people in this country too. Like I didn't belong to any racial group. The white kids thought I was white, Hispanic kids thought I was Hispanic. I'll roll with that. Whatever.
The fact of belonging, as human beings, we want to belong to something. And that's why a lot of times there's gang culture. When you don't belong to something and a group wants to take you under their wing, whether it's for good or for bad, they want to belong. So belonging is huge need for humans, and I found my thing, And growing up, my mom, being a Middle Eastern mom, she said, Sam, there's only can be 3 things in life that you need to be. Because if you're not a doctor or lawyer or engineer, you're basically a failure. And she walked away.
That sounds like Iranian mom.
My mom is 5 foot tall on a good day, 100 pounds, but she looks at me and I'm fearful. I was like, okay, my mom wants me to be a doctor, but I don't want to operate on people. I don't want to draw somebody's teeth. So I started studying what doctor has to do with muscles, bones, and everything that I want. And I couldn't find out what it was. So one night I was out with my girlfriend. I was stopped at the red light, and this car came in and plowed into me. Spun my car around. Turned out this guy was a drunk driver, totaled my car, and I was all kind of banged up. And they told me to go see a chiropractor. And I'm like, oh, chiropractor, what is that? So I went to see a chiropractor. His name was Dr. Machuga. I still remember his name. And I went to him, and he started helping me get healed. And I asked him, I'm like, Dr. Machuga, you're a doctor? He goes, yes. I was like, what do you do? He goes, well, I work with muscles, I work with bones, I work with human body and nutrition. I'm like, well, that's what I'm interested in.
Light bulb goes
up. So at that moment, I wanted to become a doctor of chiropractic. This whole time when I was going to Penn State, I was studying nutrition, pre-medicine, biomechanics, biochemistry, everything that had to do with body transformation. And I was working as a personal trainer.
It's important to note too that you didn't have a lot of money at that time. You were saying a little off camera that you're on food stamps, barely getting by, and you still took that path.
We had food stamps, we learned projects, But education was so important for us. You know, it was all student loans. My mom helped whatever she had, but you know, when I got out of college, you know, I had $150,000 in student loans. You know, and I remember being real devastated because my mom said, if you're a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, you become successful. I got my doctorate degree. I'm like, where's the money? You know, and I'm getting.
You think it's gonna just come in the mail?
Yeah, I thought I got my doctorate degree.
Send you the check.
I thought I was going to get a doctorate degree and there's going to be a check in the mail, right?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it was nothing like that. I got my doctorate degree and now I'm getting, my credit cards are calling me. You know, student loans are late and I'm trying to figure out what to do. And I was working as a manager at a gym chain. And one day this gym chain was going out of business. Now I have nothing. So I decided that I was going to start my own personal training company. I literally had $20,000 saved up from all the years of working. From all the years of working in college, I always saved money. I didn't ever spend any money. I always was very frugal. You know, I saved $20,000, but I remember for me start my first location, I needed $35,000. And I borrowed $15,000 from my mom. I told her, Mom, I'm going to pay you back. By this time, my mom started her own business and started having a little bit of money. And that means that in 30 days, I needed to come up with $25,000 because rent was due again and the payroll was due. So me being not a good salesman at all, overnight I became the best salesman because my back was against the wall.
Yeah, you got no choice at that point, right?
I didn't want to move back to Pennsylvania with my mom.
Do or die. Yeah.
Yes, I was in California.
So you'd moved to California.
Yeah, I moved to California to go to chiropractic school. You know, and in the meantime, I started bodybuilding and competing. You know, winning bodybuilding shows and started getting some fame with that and, you know, becoming a transformation expert. The business was doing really good. And what I mean by that is when you say you're doing really good, good is basically to your standards, to your eyes, right? So, I'm coming from Sharon, Pennsylvania, where, you know, the average household income there is like $25,000 a year. I mean, the average household income is $25,000 a year. So now I'm in my business. I'm 26, 27 years old. I'm making 10, 15 grand a month. At that time, nobody in my family has ever seen that. It's unheard of in Sharon, Pennsylvania, somebody making 10, 15 grand a month, maybe 2 grand a month, you know what I mean? And now I'm like, wow, I thought I was the man. You know, I bought my first home, and next thing you know, my first home went up in value. I thought everything I did was me, everything I touched, you know, it would turn into gold. Nobody told me about the ups and downs in the economy. So I was doing well till the big recession hit. From 2000, when I first started my personal training business, to 2008, I was doing fairly well. In 2008, man, something just came in and just bam, kind of slapped me in the face. I wasn't ready for it. You know, I never had a dad or never had anyone to show me, hey son, there's ups and downs, there's cycles in the economy, you know what I mean? When it's good, it's not always gonna be good, and when it's bad, it's not always gonna be bad. So at that time, I bought a home, I bought a nice car, I had all this kind of stuff, and now next thing you know, my revenue just started plummeting. And I didn't know what to do. I was devastated. So I remember I got married, my wife was pregnant with our first child, and I remember having a meeting with her and said, you know, we are $314 negative in our account. We have no money, and payroll is due in 14 days. I don't know what to do. And I never forget, you know, she looked at me and with this moment, she goes, well, all this hard work we did, we don't have anything. I'm like, we don't have anything. I said, don't worry, stay home. I don't want you to, you know, stress. You know, I'll go take care of business. So our first daughter was born in 2009, and that was just, we were just dead broke. And not having a father, Josh, was always my why, because I never had the cool things that other kids have. I never had the cool clothes or the cool toys. And I always told myself, when I'm a father, when I become a father, I want to become the best provider for my wife, for my family. So when that happened, it really made me depressed. I was really down in the dumps, and I didn't know what to do. But all I knew that I'm just going to go to work, something will happen. Just got up every morning, you know, even though like some days it was so tough to get up. But I'm like, I have no choice. In life, whenever something like that happens, I guess you have two choices. Either feel sorry for yourself and just lay down, or get up and try to fight back. And as much as I didn't want to get up, you know, I didn't want to lay down, I didn't want to let my family down, I didn't want to let my daughter down, So I went to work, and I would come home defeated every night, day after day, week after week, years after years. I mean, from 2009 to 2014, we were just broke. We were getting foreclosed notices on our house, creditors calling us, and I just made ends meet. I got approached by my business partner, Ali Font, and Ali and Lewis, they both were former clients of mine who lost a lot of weight with me. And their business wasn't doing good because of the recession. So Ali came up to me with the concept, said, Sam, let's start a group training model. And I'm a bodybuilder, right? I'm a guy who lift heavy weights, one-on-one training, lift heavy weight, and eat a lot of protein, right? And she was like, no, let's start a group training model. And I'm like, what is that? Those are like aerobics classes, right? That's not going to work. A bunch of people jumping up and down and wear leotards and stuff like that. I'm like, that's not going to work.
You're not into the leotard thing?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. That's what I was thinking about, right? And she goes, let's give it a try. I wasn't interested, but because I knew Ali, I'm like, let me give her some smoke screen. I said, Ali, okay, I'm interested, but I need you to I give her a list this big, hoping to get rid of her. Well, Ali came back 2 days later, she had it all done. I'm like, well, you know what? I need you to do other stuff. She did that, she came back, and now I'm like, wait a second, I can't go back on my word. I told her if she does X, Y, and Z, I will go through. I had $11,000 in my name, total, everything that I had. And I'm like, I only have $11,000. She goes, well, I'll take 9 of it, and we'll start this business. So
that's a do or die.
It was a do or die. I mean, when you are on the bottom, the good thing is you can't go any lower, right?
It's a good way to look at it.
There's no lower. The only way you can go is up. So anything that you do other than that, you know what I mean? I don't have nothing. I don't have $9,000. What happens if I lose the $9,000? I still have nothing, right? I remember the very first pictures of our camp. We had concrete floors. We had just a boom box, cold warehouse. But we started just to concentrate on transforming people, not just physically, but mentally. And we started getting busier. We started getting busier. We started getting busier. And in 2014, we started getting some traction. We started making a little bit of money. And at that time, I'm like, wow, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Well, guess what? In life, you're either in a problem, left the problem, or are headed towards one. So I left the problem of being broke, but because I was coming home so defeated, because I was working all crazy hours, because when I was coming home, I was so tired, I didn't have energy to talk to my wife or anything like that. I worked one day, and I got slapped with divorce papers.
Dang. So hardship on hardship.
Oh my God, I got out of one hardship, barely, and a huge other hardship came up. I moved to a hotel for a few months and hoping something, we'll get back or something like that, but, the relationship was, tarnished. And I remember now, sitting as a 40-year-old, in a hotel, crying. I said, man, I didn't have a father. I come from a broken family. That's not what I wanted for my family. This is not what I believe in. But what am I going to do? It wasn't that I didn't pull the trigger, but what am I going to do? First instinct was, well, you're single, go out, drink, party, chase girls. I'm like, that's not what I want to do. So I sat down and had like a come to Jesus meeting for myself. And I said, Sam, what do you want to do? I said, what is your top priority? I said, well, my top priority is spending time with my children. And now when we're divorced, you see your children, I see my kids on Wednesdays and on the weekends. But what am I going to do when I'm not with the kids? I say, when I'm not with the kids, I'm going to provide and work for my kids. So I became crystal clear of my why and what I wanted to do. Because you know what? If you don't have a strong desire, if you don't have a strong why, then you're going to go all over the place. You got to know what your burning desire, what you're working towards. And if you don't know that in life, it's going to be a long road. You're going to go all over the place and you're not going to achieve anything. So when you're crystal clear on what you want, decision making becomes easy, right? So I remember people calling me, friends calling me, Sam, what are you doing? Let's get together and watch the game. Sam, what are you doing? Let's go do this. I'm like, well, does it give me time with my children? No. Does it provide for my children? No. So the answer is no. So at that time, the camp had 8 locations in 2014. And because I didn't have nothing else to do, but to spend time with the kids and just work 24/7, I was able to come up with a program. I was able to come up with systems, and now we started blowing up the camp. Now we went from 14 to 24 to 40 to 50 locations, and then we became a franchise. And now we have over 100 locations in all over the United States and a few in Mexico. The reason I'm telling you that is this, is a lot of times we get devastated. I can tell you so many stories in my life where I was just devastated. I thought it was the end for me, whether it was the divorce, whether it was the bankruptcy, whether it was the foreclosure, whether it was, my wife being pregnant, I have nothing in the bank, or getting evicted. But when I look back now, something so much better came after it. So I'm a wholeheartedly believe that if you want to be blessed in life, you have to pass the test. I don't think God is going to bless anyone if they're just going to quit. So if you pass the test, there's always a bigger blessing at the end of the day. Have you ever watched some of the boxers, some of the UFC fighters where they get punched in the face and they laugh? You know what I'm talking about?
I've known guys like that, yeah.
You know what I mean? So in the beginning, I bet you the first time they ever got punched in the face, they didn't laugh. They probably was like, oh my God, they cried, or they started like, oh my God, that hurt. The second time, the third time, the fourth time. But when you get punched over and over again, okay, after a while, you know that's a part of being a fighter, right? That's a part of the game. Well, guess what? Going ups and downs in life are a part of life. Nobody is smooth coming up. Nobody is like this. This is what life is going to go. And as long as you understand that, when a trial comes your way, when things get hard, you got to smile now. You got to smile. You got to look at it dead in the face and say, you know what? There is something better at the other end. I wonder what the lesson is for me today to learn from this. So I welcome hardship. It's really weird. I have become the guy who welcomes hardship. Matter of fact, I have learned to be uncomfortable when I'm comfortable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And when I'm comfortable, I'm not, I'm uncomfortable. So if I'm, my new wife loves to, be relaxed and just watch Netflix once in a while. And I sit down there. That's the hardest thing for me to do. For me, because I've been so wired, I gotta work, I gotta study, I gotta, do something, I gotta organize, I gotta do that. But now I've learned to be able to embrace it.
Well, it's very different from what modern culture teaches. It's this whole, any hardship is like a wrong done against you. Any difficulty is something you should be forever unhappy about all the hardships you went through and have PTSD, as they label all these things now, even just small difficulties as being a kid. That you should never let go of your hardships and you should be depressed about it because this is something wrong done against you, rather than seeing it as something you can use to improve yourself.
Josh, I absolutely agree with you. I always tell people, the past doesn't define you. The only thing that defines you is where you are right now. Where do you want to go? And are you willing to pay the price to get there? Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to have a great body. Everybody wants to achieve goals. But not too many people are willing to pay the price day in, day out to get there. I mean, look, January 1st is coming up here pretty soon, and New Year resolutions are going right now. January 1st, the first couple of weeks of January, the gym is packed. The same people, the same New Year resolution, for the past 20 years, they promised themselves they're going to do something. They put it on paper, they're ready to go, but when it comes down to it, after a couple of days of working out, a couple of days of being sore, and all of a sudden, somebody brings in their favorite nachos or favorite pizza in front of them, they give in. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, the key to success is grit. The key to success is be able to be consistent over time.
And to learn to enjoy that.
Little things done correctly over time gives you massive results. In the same way, little things done incorrectly over time can become disaster. So I always say, be careful what you do because it might become a habit. And first you make habits, and then habits make you.
And you touched on something interesting before where you talked about having a why. Now, I've been reading a book, Man's Search for Meaning, and it goes into this whole idea of logotherapy and these types of things. But he says, as long as you have a why, you can overcome any how. Something along those lines.
Absolutely. I mean, look, my quote is, if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not strong enough. You know what I mean? So, you know, your why has to be emotional. We're emotional creatures. We're not logical. We think we're logical. You know, we do things based on emotion, then try to justify it with logic. For me, I always say, well, I can't get up in the morning. I can't get up in the morning to go to the gym. Or you know what, I don't, it's hard for me to save money. You know why? Because you don't have a strong enough why. You know, my why right now to get up and go to the gym is because I have small children and I want to be able to run around with my children. I want to be able to have a good quality of life with my children. I'm 46-year-old. I have a 6-month-old at home. I don't want to, them to say, oh, the dad is old. Dad can't get up. Dad can't chase after me. That's my why. So as much as I don't like to get out of bed like anybody else in the morning, it's cold outside. I don't want to get out of bed. I would rather sleep in. I'd rather hit the snooze button. I also, don't want to be that guy who can't give it all to his family.
Now, I know one of your messages is living the American dream. Mm-hmm. And coming from Iran and seeing America in the movies and thinking it's Beverly Hills and Bentleys and all this stuff. You come here, you go in bad neighborhood, bad really rough area, a lot of rejection, a lot of hardship, and a whole lot of failure. Yeah. But now you're a millionaire, self-made millionaire, and you're living the American dream. I guess. What is your perception of that in terms of what message you're getting across now?
Well, first of all, we live here in the greatest country in the world. And I don't care where you live. I don't care if you live in Algeria, you live in Africa, you live in Egypt. I don't care where you are. As a human being, your duty to yourself and the world is to become the best version of yourself. That's why we call our gyms the Camp Transformation Centers. You know what I mean? Because transformation is what we humans do. It's called evolution. Think about it for a second. A German Shepherd today and a German Shepherd 100 years ago is the same. They haven't really improved. No species has really improved. We're the ones that invented the plane. We're the ones that put a man on the moon. So we get up every day and we have a choice. Are we going to stay the same? Or are we going to grow? Or are we going to get better? And if you're not getting better, in my opinion, you're disrespecting your creator because he made you to become analytical to yourself and become better. And as far as coming to America and becoming the American dream, anything's possible. Anything's possible if you put your mind to it, you have a plan, you reverse engineer the plan, and just stick with it. The problem is most people just don't want to stick with it.
So you do these transformation centers. What are some of the biggest issues you see in people coming in, and how do you help them with those?
Well, look, when somebody wants to transform their body, it's not rocket science. We know, everybody knows. In this, if you ask somebody, how do you lose weight? They're like, eat less, move more, right? Isn't that the formula? It's calories in, calories out. It's called law of thermodynamics. Everybody knows how to do it, but how come nobody does it? Everybody knows how to save money, but how come very few do it? Because it requires discipline. It requires consistency. It requires focus. And the only way that you're going to change that is to change your mindset and change your approach to it.
Great. So Sam, I guess the last question, if you were to leave our audience with one message in terms of what you hope to convey through your story, through what you're doing now, what would you hope people bring home from this?
I always want to tell people that, look, me coming here as an immigrant, $500, single mom, I was able to become a multi-millionaire. I was able to become the American dream. So if you're watching this, if I can do it, you can do it now. If life, life is going to knock you down. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, ors about it. Life is going to knock you down, but don't stay down. Don't let a setback in your life set you back. To me, a setback is a perfect stage to make it come back.
Great. Sam, real pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Great. And everyone, please remember to like and subscribe. See you next time.